Hi everyone, it's Monica and welcome back to Taylor-Made-Cards4u. Well, today I'm here to share with you a new kit that just came out by VectoriaDesigns, and this kit is called Celestial and it is filled with all sorts of items from basically like the universe, so stars and different signs and just all sorts of fun items to create kind of like a Zodiac design. I mean, that's how I used it and that's how I interpreted it, but there's so many ways you can use this kit, you guys. It is so pretty, and it comes in a couple of colors that you don't typically see from VectoriaDesigns. You've got this blue, and then you've got kind of this mauve, I guess, or purplish color. So I really loved it. And then I was able to use this, I guess, Zodiac sign. I'm a Gemini, to kind of put to the top. And this isn't part of the kit. This is actually in my shop, but it fit perfect with this theme. So this, let me go ahead and share with you what this is, and then we're going to go ahead and put this together. But this is a die cut, but I want to show you how to create this little theme journal without actually having the die cut. And it's really easy. All you need to have is a hole punch, and some scissors or a cutter, and I'm going to show you how to replicate this. And like I said, I have the die, but you don't necessarily need to have the die to create this. So it's, what I like about this journal is there's not a lot of creasing. It kind of is just like a fold journal, so you can do it with any 8.5 by 11 sheet, because it's actually 2 sheets. And part of the problem that you would have a problem with is if it was 1 sheet is punching this hole here, because a lot of times, you know, your hole puncher won't fit. But because it's 2 sheets that you actually glue together, it makes it a lot easier to put together. And then when you put the journal together, it just kind of wraps, so you don't have to have any score lines, which is really nice as well. And then this is one of those chipboards from Tim Holtz, and I want to show you how to make it flexible. I mean, if you're familiar with his chipboards, they're not flexible, but I want to show you how I was able to make it flexible to work with this journal. And then when you open it up, it has 3 signatures, and these are part of her kit. As you can see, they're just beautiful graphics, and I used the pages rather than creating pages, printed pages for every single signature. I used it as a cover, and then I added purple paper. But as you can see, there's some beautiful designs here. I'm just going to pull these out for you to create some beautiful journals or signatures or whatever will work for you. And then this is the 3rd page that I printed out. So she's got some designs, empty space here to type notes, all sorts of things to create your journal. And then you've got your elastic for your signatures here, and then this is the back of the journal. So that's what I want to show you how to do today, is how to create this. And then I will put links to everything for you, along with these cute little sign cards. So if you wanted to add those to your journal, you can do that as well. Now, one of the things that also came in the kit was this cute little envelope, and it was perfect to hold my cards. So as you can see, I have several of these. So if you did want to create this journal, you can easily get your sign, get the journal kit, and create a really fun journal book. So let's go ahead and jump in, and I'll show you how I created this. Okay, so I went ahead and I printed my paper on both sides, because I want to be able to have my journal have decoration inside and out. And then what I did is I trimmed it with my trimmer. Now this particular journal, and this is the one I did with my die cut, this one measures about, let's see, about 8 3/4 by about 5 1/4-ish. But I wanted to go ahead and show you that by doing it this way, you can size your journal however you want. This one actually is a little bit longer, and it's a little bit wider. And so with the die cut, obviously you're limited to your size, but if you cut your own measurements, then you can make it any size you want. So I'm going to have my journal have the same image inside and out. So it's going to be like this, and then it will open up like this. And then this will be my inside. But what we need to do is we need to punch these holes. Now, when you put these two together, the hole that you match up is the middle hole. So that's what you want to make sure is lined perfectly. And of course you want everything to be lined perfectly, but that probably is the most important one. And as you can see, it's pretty close to the edge. Now I'm using my Chomper, which will give me the same distance every single time. So if you have one of these, this is what I would recommend. And then you don't want your paper to move, so you're going to want to hold it together somehow. And I'm going to go ahead and just use these clips. They're right on my desk, and they will hold my paper in place, hopefully, so they won't move. Go ahead and do it on both sides here for us. All right. And then we're going to, this is where your journal goes. You want your holes to be here, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and make my first hole, and I'm using my Chomper, and I'm going to use this little thing here as my measurement against my paper. So, right there. Okay. And then there's my first hole, which is going to be this one right here. And then you're going to want to have similar holes on each side. But for that, you don't need to have your paper together because it's only a single hole. You want to do the same thing down here. So the exact same thing that you did on the top, you want to do on the bottom. All right. And again, I'm using my piece here as my measurement. Let's see if this is going to work. This is how I want to go. All right. And then I'm going to punch my hole. I want to make sure. Sometimes the eyeballs deceive you. All right. And then I'm going to go ahead and punch that right there. So now we have our two holes for our centerpiece. And I'm going to go ahead and show you what I mean here. So when you open this up, oh, I thought I was upside down. You want to make sure your paper is going the right side too. So when you open it up, this is how you're going to attach your journal with these holes right here. Okay? So you can actually do this first and then cut your holes separately. Or you can do all your holes at the same time. But before you glue, you want to make sure that you get your middle piece, because that's going to be this right here. And that's going to measure from your hole, that's going to measure about 4 inches. But remember, this is a little bit longer, so you might have to take that into consideration. Okay, so when you're punching your middle hole, as you can see on mine, I have 2 holes because I didn't measure it quite right. So this is what I'm going to recommend. I had to actually stop the camera and figure out how I was going to do this. So punch, don't put these together when you punch it. Measure out, punch your 1 hole, and then line it up, because these 2 need to be lined up as well as these here. So once I had my hole punched, I went ahead and I lined up my dots, and then I did it the old-fashioned way. I took my pencil, I put a circle, and then I repunched. So if you're off, I'm not really sure exactly why I was off, but you just want to make sure in the end that your holes match up, because you're going to need to glue them. And I'm just going to make sure that the second hole is inside. I'm not going to worry about it too much. So here you go with your holes, and then you're going to want to glue this together. So I'm going to go ahead and get my Beacon 3-in-1, and then I'm going to glue, and you're going to glue this here. Now, because I'm going to try to hide that hole, I'm going to glue this way, but you could glue either way typically if you don't have a mistake like I did. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and add my glue straight down here. Okay, and then you can add more in between the holes. All right. And then you want to make sure that your images are right side going the right way. Make sure they match. And then you're going to match these holes. Let's see. Pretty good. All right, and then just take a minute to make sure that these are nice and glued together, because you are going to be bending this, so you want to make sure that it is nice and secure. The nice thing about liquid glue is you can continue to move it to make sure that you are lined up. All right. And this is our inside here. And see, as you can see, that's that second hole right there, but I'm not going to worry about that too much. If you are overly concerned, find that hole that you punched. Let's see. And let's see if I can stick that back in, so maybe the hole won't be as obvious. Okay. All right. So now that we have our pieces glued together, this is where you're going to do the outside pieces. So what you're going to want to do is just figure out exactly where you want them. And again, I have my length here. All I got to do is figure out how far apart I want these. And I'm going to do, let's see here, I'm going to do a 1/2 inch. So from the middle piece here, I'm going to do one right here, and then one about right there. And then we're going to do the same thing on the other side. Right there. And then, is that 1/2 inch? Yep. And then one right here. And that'll just give me my guide. And I'm going to take my chomper once again, find that hole, okay, and then do the same thing on the other side. And then there you have it. There are your 3 holes to be able to put your signatures. Now, I like to add eyelets. So that's what we're going to do next. And then we're going to round our corners. And then, as you can see, I haven't bent this yet because I want to make sure it's completely dry before I start bending it. And I'm going to go ahead and use these here. So I'm going to need 6, 4, 5, 6. Okay. And let's go ahead and add these. And this is nice too because it will help to make sure you're, just gives it that extra strength. And then let's see here. Push down. All right, now the only one you're not going to be able to add an eyelet to is this one, because my chomper doesn't reach all the way. But if you have one of those manual ones, then you can do that as well. It comes with a hammer and a tool. I don't have that, but I didn't add it on this one, and I thought it was fine. All right, so now that we have our book together, we can go ahead and bend it. Okay, so when I started to bend it, I noticed that this was still lifting up a little bit. So I have this tool that goes right on top of my glue that gives me a really fine tip. So I went ahead and I just bent this a little bit. I was able to stick my tip in here to add more glue. So if you need to add more glue along the way, certainly do that. Okay, so now that this is nice and dry, I'm going to go ahead and take my other chomper here, and I'm going to round my corners. And as you can see, it's pretty good. Looks almost exact. And then the last thing we need to do is we need to lace these. So let me go ahead and show you how to do that. I just want to make sure this is completely glued. All right, so this is what I was talking about, flexibility. So as you can see, it doesn't have any creases, but as you put your signatures, what I like about this is it expands, and as you work the book, as you get your signatures in there, it will get smaller and create its own bends for you. But if you are really concerned about it, you can add creases. I don't, because I like it to be a round journal. I like the way that it is flexible. So just do what works for you. All right, so let's go ahead and lace these. I'm not quite sure if I have enough white elastic left, but this is just elastic jewelry cord that I use. Let me see if I'm gonna have enough for this. Probably not. So I'm gonna go ahead and lace it. I'm going to lace it using my black elastic, because as you can see, I have a lot of that. So let me show you how I lace it. So the first thing you're going to want to do is figure out how much you're going to need. Now you're going to start here, and ultimately it's going to need to come down here and come through here. So that's what I kind of figure I need. And then what I do is I wrap it around 1, 2, 3, and then it stretches down. So right there. Okay. And then I just start lacing. So you want your outside just to have these here. Gotta get my bearings here. All right. So as you start it, you're going to go ahead and just come straight down. All right, and you're going to make it a little bit taut, so you're going to want to kind of squeeze it or pull it as you go along, stretch it I should say, not squeeze it. And then you're going to lace it on the other side, come down again to the middle, all right. All right, and then you're going to come here, the end, so now we have 2 signatures right there, and then you're going to, holding this thing, we have 2 hands, Put that right there. Okay. Now if you wanted to, I probably should have been smart about this and clipped this. You don't want to have to worry about hanging on to that. Just clip it. And then this piece here is going to go back through the middle. Okay. And you're going to tie it as it comes here. This piece here is what we started with, is going to come through here. Okay, so now we have our outside, and you're going to tie it in the middle. Okay, so you want to make sure those are a little bit taut here, and then you're going to tie it in the middle. Let's see if I can do this. All right, so right there, get our fingers. I think our best tools are our fingers, right? Tie it once. I like to double knot it. Tie it twice, and then we're going to trim it. Right, now I have extra, so this is going to actually be my tie that's going to be able to hold this shut. So let's go ahead and figure out how we're going to do that. Now for this particular one, we don't have an edge, right? But you can easily make your own, anything that's going to cover it. I'm going to go ahead and just use, let's see, let me find something to use here. Okay, so I cheated and I used my die to cut this, and that's because these are going to ultimately end up in my shop, so I wanted them to be perfect. But all you need to do is get a piece of your paper, and this is going to be about 1.5 by maybe 3, and it doesn't have to have this fancy edge. It could be straight, and then just punch some holes through it. If you want it to be fancy, you might have a die that has a fancy edge, but this is where you need to use your creativity. All right, and then I'm going to go ahead and just fold this because I need to have 2 holes here. I'm going to mark this so it's even. I'll punch my hole where I made my mark. Alright, and now I'm going to go ahead and show you how I did this. So I have this leftover elastic. I'm just putting it through. Alright. And this is going to be on the outside because it's going to be like this. So you want to get your elastic, put it through this hole, and figure out how much you're going to actually need here. So ultimately this is how it's going to close. Okay, so let's figure out how much we need. Probably not this much. Okay. And then, now some people like to have the 4 signatures, but what I found is if you don't get a good enough double knot, it goes through. So I take the piece, I only use 3 signatures, so I just take the piece where I already tied that knot and I put it through here so it will catch. That way I know as I open and close my booklet, it won't go through that hole. I still double knot it, but at least I know it's going to be secure. Okay, and then you just want to make sure that you move your knot so that way the knots are together. And now you have your closure. All right, so once you are finished with your cover, you can take your signatures, and all I did was just, you want to make sure that it will fit inside of your elastic. And add them to your book. So this is a really easy journal. So if you don't like to work with real complicated journals, as you can see, it was just 2 pieces of paper that I sized down, punched holes, glued them together, and now I have a nice little book. And you know, if you need to make this tighter, you know, you can make it tighter, but just for demonstration's sake, this is how it's going to work. And then if you want to add your sign, these are in the shop, and you can just figure out what sign you have, if it's a gift, who you're giving it to, or if it's for yourself, whatever your sign is, and add it to the front of your journal. Alright, so I did tell you I was going to show you how I made this flexible. Now when you get your chipboards, they don't flex. All I did, is if you can take a look here, is I took some of this layer off. So just want to be really careful that you don't tear it. Actually, it came off pretty easily once I got the layer. And then you can see it comes right off. And then that's still not as flexible as I want it. So I took off another layer. And now it's starting to bend. Still want a little bit more. You want to get it as close to the top as possible. Still want a little bit of height. All right. So now it's pretty thin and it flexes. So when your book flexes, it will flex with it. And then all I did, you want to make sure it's flat, is figured out where this is going to be. This is probably going to be in the middle somewhere. And then I just added it. Now if you don't want it, of course you don't have to have it, but I wanted to show you how I did that. On this particular one, should I add it? I don't think I'm going to add it because I like all the photos, but that's how you can add one of these chipboards and make it flexible. Alright, so don't forget this new kit, Celestial, is available over at VectoriaDesigns. I will make sure that I leave you the links, and if you want to pick up these little Zodiac signs, these are in my shop and they will work perfect with this as well. Alright everybody, I hope you guys have a great day, and we'll see you again next time.